Hello, everyone, and welcome to Spiral Out, the podcast where we talk about music and movies, art and artists, merch and memorabilia, collectors and their collection. I'm your host, Chris West. First off, I just want to say, wow, the reception for the first episode was beyond great. Hundreds of people listened, and for a first episode, I think that's pretty good. We had a lot of feedback come in, a lot of suggestions, a lot of good comments, good reviews. Joey did great. So thank you. Thank you for listening to that first one. And on the second episode, we are going to talk about auction. I rushed to put this episode out because of April Fools. It seems a bunch of trolls trolled a troll. Trolls trolling trolls. Alex Gray trolls, that is. His website and auction got hacked and skyrocketed prices. They went up to hundreds of millions of dollars. And so much so that the auction had to be shut down. So I thought it would be interesting to put a panel of people together to talk about auctions and artist drops and pricing and all of that cool stuff. So again, thank you for listening to the first episode. That was amazing. Here's the second one. Thank you, and spiral out.
So what I'm thinking about doing is contacting an auction house in a couple years and seeing if they would try to help me to auction off the whole thing.
That'd be cool.
We'll see if that happens. And we'll see if I want to give them up too, because that'll be fucking hard, man.
There might be, definitely some that would be easier to let go of, I think, than others, but there are some that are just like, wow.
I know, like I like them all, really. You know?
And speaking of auctions, I'm going to get started while everybody's here. We may or may not have one or two more people. Hello, audience, and welcome to Spiral Out Podcast. Today, we're going to be talking about auctions, the Alex Gray auction specifically, other artists, and how they're selling their prints. Today, we have Joe Smith, Sarah Boyles, and Megan, I'm not sure your last name.
Hager.
Megan Hager. Oh, and I'm your host, Chris West. I always forget to introduce myself. Joe, you're talking about auctions and maybe potentially auctioning off your entire 2022 tour collection. What do you think you would ask for something, or what would you hope to get? What do you think the current value of something like that is?
You know, that's a good question. I haven't even thought about that, honestly. Like I haven't even, it hasn't even really sunk in that it's, you know, that I have them. I haven't, honestly, I wouldn't even know where to start. And it does seem like a daunting task, honestly, after seeing, you know, what happened on April Fools on the Alex Gray site and, you know, the madness that happened with that. It kind of, you know, not to say that I would go through that, but it's still, it kind of put a odd picture on the whole auction process.
Yeah.
Definitely.
My question is, who do you think could afford? Because it's got to be around, if I had to guess, to put a number on that, you'd have to start somewhere around $20,000, right? If not more, for all 38.
Yeah, I would think so. And you know, who's to say what's going to happen in 2 years?
Or 5.
Yeah. I mean, it could completely jump up. I mean, it could go down. I don't know, but I'll cross that bridge when I get there. But I don't know who could afford it. That's an interesting point, because if maybe it'll come down to me just selling them off individually. I don't know, because then I don't want to alienate other people.
Everyone here, we talked a little bit yesterday, but the Alex Gray auction on April Fools was kind of, I don't know what the right word to describe it was. Interesting, hilarious, concerning, eye-opening, or
entertaining.
All of the above. Entertaining, yeah.
I just kind of want to get your guys' initial thoughts, and we'll start with you, Megan. What you thought and what you think was going on, and
Well, I was online and paying attention to the drop. I had before that tried to score one of Lori Nelson's remarques, but failed to do so. And then I went over to check out the Alex Gray auctions, and at first all of them looked reasonable and like what I would expect. And then I noticed one of the troll posters after I had done a refresh, was sitting at $37,000, and that was kind of a red flag. I'm like, I don't think if any of these were to get that high, that it would be that one. And then I just kept refreshing every 2 or 3 minutes and just was watching these numbers turn into, like I said, something very entertaining.
You're not saying that a Tulsa troll is worth $30,000 with like a little hand remark on it? That's nuts.
I mean, yeah, I'm not. It would not have surprised me to have seen the thank you poster at that price, but I mean, the trolls, yeah, probably not.
Yeah.
So it kind of changed a little bit from yesterday. I can see the humor in it more than I initially did. So I think it sucks that we have to go through this whole process now. You got to give your ID and that sort of thing to be able to get the link. But I see the humor in it as well. It's a good April Fool's prank. It kind of puts things in perspective a little bit.
How so?
For everyone.
Because people listening don't know this, but we had a whole conversation about this yesterday. So they may not understand.
Yeah, I think I think we get maybe sometimes so bogged down in the trying to get this poster or that poster, and it just kind of the high bids was almost kind of like a wake up call, like, hey guys, this is getting a little out of hand. Maybe called out some of the people that are flipping for outrageous prices. It gave, at least for me personally, a lot of different things to think about.
Sarah, your turn.
I definitely found it funny, but when it jumps up to that, it's only really available to like a small percentage of people, and it really like eliminates any of the collectors and are just your average, working class person.
The different classes in collections, and I'm sure this is not just Tool posters, but I'm sure in all aspects of society there are going to be the haves and have-nots. And I'll just chime in myself on the Alex Gray auction as well. I thought it was hilarious. I think that sometimes you need a kick in the face. I'm not for anybody getting hacked. Well, any regular individual being hacked, but I think Alex Gray could handle it. It has changed things, I'm sure, from now on. You're probably going to need to do something like this with every artist.
Agreed.
Because we're talking about the Lori drop, and she has like a set price for her drop. Do you think it's cool that artists do auctions in general, or should they just be one price? Why don't you take this one, Sarah, first?
So I see like both sides of that one. Like it's obviously with the artist drop, that's the artist's chance to like get paid for their work. And I feel like we all love their work and are willing to spend the money on it. And so, they deserve to be paid for that. On the other hand, I mean, especially like, for people like me, I'm kind of like single mom, got lots of other things I have to spend my money on. And, it's not easy for me to just like drop $1,000 here and, here's another 1,000 there, So with auctions, it makes it a lot more difficult to be able to like obtain something like that. Whereas if it's a set dollar amount, you know what you're going into it for. But like I said, it's really like the auction is kind of the best way to ensure that the artist gets the top dollar and not I don't want to say a flipper, but maybe a flipper possibly.
Here's a weird question. Do you think any price is too much for a print? Because like that thank you poster, I think is sitting around 6 or 7. I don't know. It's a weird thing to. I guess I've just never bought anything other than a car that was worth that much money. So I'm not.
Yeah, same.
I'm not experienced with large art purchases.
Yeah, honestly, I haven't spent more than like $1,000 on a print at this point. So yeah, that one's hard. That one's hard to put like when is it too much? I feel like
that's an individual,
a personal kind of an individual question. Yeah, because
that's the great thing about auctions, though, is that if they, if there's someone that's going to pay that $6,000 for it, then that's good for them.
I guess the goal would try to be to get one of those before it gets to $6,000.
Yeah.
Yeah. Megan, what do you think about the differences between having a set price and having auctions?
Well, like Sarah said, it's I think it's good for the artists, the auctions, because they're going to get, and I always say this, that something is worth what someone is willing to pay for it. So with an auction, the artist is going to get that full value, which is great. And then on the downside of that, you have people who are not going to be able to drop $6,000 on a poster. So I think that it would be cool if the majority of these artists would kind of divide what they have and maybe take a couple of them and do them as an auction style. Maybe they do extra remarques on it or something, to get as much as they can for it. And then after they've done that and they kind of see where their art falls, value-wise, they can kind of adjust and make a price that's, a little more reasonable and affordable for people, and do varying levels of detail on their remark. Maybe have like 10 with a small, simple doodle, maybe have 10 that have more colors, more details, and then have a couple more that are, super detailed, lots of color, which some artists have done that before. But
because I think that in the artist world, when it comes to tool, there are also different classes. There are artists that I think are a little bit closer to the band and have been around a long time and are veterans.
Agreed.
And then there are new ones that are just like, Adam Jones emailed me and said he wanted a poster, and that's all I know.
Real.
Yeah. And it's interesting how you see the difference in, let's say, the artist that's new to this game and their remarks and what they sell it for, as opposed to like some of the ones that have been doing it for a long time. Some of those artists that have been doing prints for years for Tool, and their remarks are barely.
We'll just go ahead and say it. Somebody like Alex Kuno, who's going fucking nuts on these remarks and selling them, relatively cheap. And then somebody like Alex Gray, who's putting a tiny eyeball we've seen for 20 years. Well, again, I'm sure it'll get a lot of hate, but this is part of why we do panels and why we're having this podcast, is to have an open discussion and have varying degrees of opinions. But in my opinion, Alex Gray is doing some weak-ass remarks.
They were, like, we kind of talked about this yesterday. They were not really that impressive for how much they are, but, still love Alex Gray.
Of course.
Love everything that he does.
Of course.
And would love to have owned one.
Sure.
But, yeah, when you compare it to, like, Alex Kuno, who's fucking killing the remarks, I mean, dude, did you guys see the Salvador Dali one that was posted the other day? Like, the octopus one, holy smokes, he is blowing it out of the water.
There was a lightning one I saw that was really cool. There was another one where it was like a Japanese cat monster thing with like 10 eyes that was really awesome. I think too the Chicago, I might be wrong, but the Chicago, what was the pyramid print?
Yeah, I believe that was Chicago. His name is Alex as well, but I'm
That's right.
spacing on what his last name is at the moment.
He did an awesome one where it looks just like the rest of the print, and it's like a full ass lion.
Yeah, there's like a
tiger. My bad. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
I saw that.
It looks just like the print.
I will say this again. There is obviously a difference in quantity. I will give Alex Gray that. He is working with 10 prints, probably at 50 each, that he has to remark. So that's 500 prints as opposed to, the average artist who has 50. And I'm sure the push for Alex Gray's he's obviously the number one artist. Maybe Brooks is kind of right there with him on some level, but I don't think Brooks has the quantity aspect that maybe Alex Gray has. Brooks?
I think Alex Gray is just always forever going to be like always associated with Tool, like that's how I got introduced to Alex Gray art was through Tool. And so, that's where a lot of the people, myself included, are like go crazy when it's Alex Gray stuff.
And Alex Gray's been doing this a long time. He's earned, maybe, he's built this reputation, maybe some of the other artists have not. Doesn't necessarily need to do all these remarks. He, maybe he wants to be minimal on the remarks because the artwork itself is more important. I mean, there could be a million reasons why besides.
That's a good point.
That he just didn't have time to do it.
Definitely.
That's a really good point.
And the Chicago artist is, just for reference, is Alexander Reisfar.
I'm gonna have to hit him.
Awesome, thank you.
See if he'll come on the podcast. By the way, if anybody gets a line on any artist, please mention the podcast. So we're talking about Alex Gray having tenure when it comes to Tool, but let's take somebody like Chet Zar, who has been around longer, I think, than Alex Gray, but doesn't seem to pull the same amount of respect. I mean, maybe respect is the wrong word, but at least revenue when it comes to prints. His Kansas City poster, I think, was great and different comparatively to other prints, but it didn't seem to get like the same amount of hype.
Yeah, I don't know why. It's amazing.
Yeah, I have it. I'm in love with it. I like Chet Zar a lot. I've got a Melty too. I'm really happy with that one. Okay, so Chet Zar is a little bit darker. I feel like it just kind of speaks to different folks. So I don't want to say like that his print didn't get like a lot of love or whatever. I just feel like it got a lot of love from the people who really love Chet Zar stuff. Yeah,
he's been a part of Tool since the 90s.
Since Anima, right? He did the cover for Anima, right?
Yeah, and he was on tour with them, painting Maynard every night, so he's been there and been doing this for a long time. I mean, honestly, for me, I think there's 3 artists that when a Tool tour comes out that we're all dying to see: Alex, Chet, and Mark, right?
Yeah.
We all get
and Addie.
Super excited for it. Addie as well. Yeah, God, yeah. I can't believe I forgot that. I agree with Sarah. Chet's work is amazing. And it's completely different. I mean, that's the great thing about all of these posters is because there's so many different types of prints that, it's great because it doesn't really alienate anybody who's a Tool fan, really.
I think you guys are all touching on what I think is the somewhat solid answer, is that, one, Alex Gray just kind of or at least his artwork does, not him personally, embodies just the music in general, like these spiritual figures that seem strong but mystical and mysterious, and it just kind of encompasses what you're listening to. And not only that, when I look at, like, say something like The Mystic Eye, I kind of imagine it's kind of a fantasy, like, I hope that happens to me. I hope I burst out into a bunch of light and energy and kind of become one with the universe while listening to Tool. It never happens, but maybe one day. I just don't do enough hallucinogenics,
like smoke some DMT,
right?
Yeah,
but
trust me, you do that and you would definitely be bursting out.
I would say a big part of that is Alex Gray is very, very commonly used in a lot of Tool's artwork and has been for a very long time, whereas you do see a lot of Chet Zar artwork in Tool as well, but it's not as common. And for people who are maybe say more casual fans and aren't as familiar with all of the different artists who, work with Tool, they might just not see that as being Tool to them.
And I would say this: Alex Gray artwork is a little bit more wall friendly. Does that make sense?
Yeah, there is also that.
Yeah,
that is true.
I don't mind having a melty face on my wall. I think it's wicked cool, the purple background, and I just got the Kansas City Chet, and he does have a dick on his face, but I will put that up on my wall as well. And I will also put the Cleveland up, but I think, like I said, the average Tool listener or somebody maybe a little bit more conservative as a person may not want a Chet on their wall as much. I know I'm hard pressed to put the Grand Rapids up on my wall, and that's my birthday print. And I'm like, I don't know if I don't want 3 dicks just like up there. Come on, all right, I guess.
That's why I had joked on a post that when God, what city was that? The girl with the kind of the anime girl with the big,
tits.
Minneapolis.
Sorry.
Minneapolis.
Yeah.
Excuse me, ladies.
That was the first time he actually loved Tool posters.
That's awesome.
He's like, Dad, I'm gonna take this in my room. Don't ask me why. I'm trying to think of like what would be like the most controversial print, and not necessarily this year, but is there one that like is a little bit more, I don't know, risque or
the first thing that comes to mind for me is the infamous Las Vegas tuck.
Oh yeah, I have that one.
That
honestly, I was kind of like,
well.
I was like, what the fuck am I looking at? I mean, that for me is.
I have assigned one of those. Again, I live in Las Vegas, so.
There's a lot of genitals this tour.
There were so much.
I had to skip those ones.
Yeah, you have a child. How many were there? There was Miami, Grand Rapids, Orlando.
Yeah,
even Moline looked a little sketchy.
Salt Lake City was a naked person as well.
I love that print. That
he
print
was covered, but St. Louis. Yeah.
Oh yeah, the boob.
The octopus.
The
octopus and the girl.
Yeah.
What's
no, that's Bud. Bud jumped on. Hello, Bud.
Hey, Bud.
What's up, Bud?
Hey there, Bud.
Look at him showing off his Boston Brooks behind him. Spend more money. It does sometimes feel like there is just a constant flow of things to spend money on. I remember there was nothing on the shops. There was like one Tool Army shirt. There was that white shirt, and that was it for like ever. But now we have so much stuff in the shop, so many emails, necklaces,
garbage.
Do you think that's soured?
Some of it, not all of it.
No,
I'm not
obviously
going to talk shit
I
about
have
all
bought,
of it. But
I have bought
the jewelry,
plenty.
come on, that shit was trash.
Yeah.
The blankets are really nice, though.
I have a blanket and I love it.
Mm-hmm.
It's on my bed.
I haven't pulled the trigger on a blanket yet.
Worth it.
What do you guys think? Because Tool's obviously not the only artist doing this right now. I'm a big Deftones fan, and they have so much stuff in their merch: shorts and fanny packs and sandals. And I mean, do we need Deftones sandals?
I don't believe so. No, at least it's not. I mean, hopefully Tool doesn't get to the point where, they're like Kiss, because Kiss's website, they sell or have sold some outlandish shit. I was talking about they used to sell, or maybe they still do, sell coffin.
Dimebag Darrell's buried in one.
So you can be buried, in a fucking Kiss coffin. So I hope Tool doesn't get to that point.
Is it you, Bud?
I don't know if you can hear me or not, but Dimebag Darrell of Pantera is buried in a Kiss coffin.
Is he really?
Really?
Oh,
Yeah.
Wow, really?
I wouldn't mind being buried in a Alex Gray Mystic Eye coffin.
Me either.
I think that'd
Me
be
either.
I think that'd be sweet. I think it's an inevitability. And
I'll
who just jumped
be dead, so it won't matter.
right? For those listening, Bud. How do you say your last name, Bud?
Gabbard.
Bud Gabbard just jumped on, and we were talking about Alex Gray auction and just spending money on on things in general. You want to throw in your two thoughts on how you perceived the Alex Gray auction yesterday?
I didn't really follow that closely because I knew I was never going to buy one, but I did start watching once they were trolling it. Which I thought was funny.
I think that's the biggest consensus is it was funny. What do you think about the trolls in general? What do you think about people that do something like that?
Normally it's funny. I don't know. I just kind of sat back and laughed at it.
Have you guys ever got that angry at an auction or a drop or anything like that where you felt the need you needed to express it at all? Whether or not that be
No.
trolling somebody or messing up an auction?
Because I went to the Cleveland show in 2019, and I had a remarque in my cart or whatever as I was checking out, and then poof, it was gone because someone else had bought it. I'm like, oh, that sucks, you know. And then 2 months later, I saw it for sale for like over $2,000. I'm like, come on. I'm like, that was something on my wall.
It definitely stings more when it's in your cart and you think that you have it. You're hitting that submit payment button, and then boom, it's gone.
Yeah, that's a tease.
Can you guys
That
hear
was
me?
literally how I felt when I saw the Mystic Eyes hanging up in Cleveland, and they were right in front of my face, and I had never ever even seen one in real life before. And then I, was thinking like, oh, I'm actually going to get to buy one. And of course, yeah, that didn't happen. So it would have been, it wouldn't have felt as bad if they just weren't even there at all in front of my face.
What about, have you guys heard that bots may have purchased a bunch of these drops, that individuals are using programs and algorithms to be able to make transactions, in a fraction of a second, and multiple transactions in a fraction of a second? Do you think,
I have heard that.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, if they have the ability to do that, good for them. I don't know. If I did it, I would use it, but I don't know how, so I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a friend that does it for Air Jordans. So when they drop sneakers, yeah.
I do have a friend that writes computer programs, so maybe I got to talk to him.
I guess that's when it comes to a little bit more regulation or maybe a little bit more personal interaction when it comes to doing these drops. I don't know if there is a way that you can keep people from, again, like Bud said, if he had that program, he would use it. But would you buy every print, Bud, if you had that program?
I would get mine.
Exactly. The issue then runs into somebody that does have that program will buy every print on the drop.
Yeah,
and that's where we end up running into an issue.
Yeah, that's the frustrating part. Whether it's bots or whether it's people in line, that's the part that frustrates me. Is that, what, I'm fine with you getting 2 or 3 posters. I mean, great. But those people that have stacks of 50 and 40 shirts.
20, for sure.
Well, I'm not going to say who this individual is, but I talked to somebody at a show, thought that getting 15 prints wasn't that bad. And so, again,
I think that's a lot.
The question then becomes where is too many? What is too many? And what is, because I think everybody on this call has gone to, multiple shows, and you may have sold a print here and there to kind of make up some money. But where is the, okay, I got 4. Is 4 okay? If not 4, 5? Is 2 should be the limit? You know what I'm saying? Like what are you?
It's definitely a slippery slope for sure.
Well, I mean, what I'm asking is what do you actually? I mean, that's why we're here. Is what does each one of you think?
So, I have played the Poster Buddy game for a long time now, and I used to, back like in the 2019 tour, I would take on like 7 or 8 people. I would agree to get 7 or 8 people a poster at my show, and then in addition to that, I'm trying to also get one for myself, maybe 2 if I can. So I mean, you're looking at like 10. Indianapolis, I had 7 PBs for that show, and I failed the feeling of failure, of having to let all of those people down looking back on it, it was silly, but I let it bother me. I'm standing there and I'm realizing I'm not going to be able to give all 7 of these people a poster that I had promised them. And it kind of bummed me out. And then on the flip side of that, had I actually been successful and gotten 10 of those, how would that look to the people around me? Like, what would they say? It would just put a big target on my back. So I kind of decided after that tour that I was going to limit myself to only picking up 3. I have 3 people that I will always agree to PB for because we go way back. Those are people that I will try my best to do it for. And then Detroit for this tour, that was one that I wasn't able to get one from, and I ended up using a trade. I traded an extra Louisville that I had to get it.
Damn.
So that's nice to be able to do that. So, I mean, if I see anybody buying, 4 or 5 or even 6, I don't really bat an eye at it. It's the people that have so many of them that they can't actually roll them all up in one go and fit them in their sleeve.
Joe, your turn. How many prints is too many prints?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I feel like it's, I think, when you see someone with 4 or 5, I mean, more than likely it's a PB, or, you see those folks with 25, that's a completely different story. So I don't agree with that at all. But if you can get, 3 or 4 extras, I mean, more than likely they're not flippers. They're paying somebody back. And, we've all experienced that. So I think that's okay.
I know from the first episode I released, we kind of touched on this subject of, how many is too many. And I got a few comments that were like, if you're getting more than 1, you're getting too many. And there is an argument for that. I'm not saying that that's what I would do. There are definitely, individuals out there who think that 1 print per person should be the standard. Especially their argument is they're at the show. There are people at the show that want them. Why should anybody else get any extra when there's tons of people there who want them? Again, that's not the reality, but that is an argument. I'm going to ask.
I think it's a valid point.
Again, I think every point is a valid point. I definitely think there is some line. I'm not sure what it is. I'm never going to tell anybody not to get what they can pay for, because it's their own money, and it does suck to be in line relatively close and then not be able to get what you want. But that is life in general. Anyways, I'll continue with Sarah. How many prints is too many?
I think that too many is double digits. Even the higher single digits, I think 5 is kind of a lot, but it's okay. I don't know. I'm okay with it. So yeah, if you can't roll those bad boys up, that's too many. Like, you can take a couple of extra, but you should try to leave a bit more for others as well, and not take everything that you can. But I also see the argument too of the people who are like 1 per person. There are people who are there that don't get 1. But yeah, that's kind of tough in life, and it sucks, but it is what it is.
I will, before I ask Bud the same question, I will say that I poster buddied 1 show with him and in Moline, I don't know if anybody here, I know Megan was there. That was a complete shit show. They were saying if you had any poster in your hand, they would not sell you another one. And he had already sent me a print in the mail. Like, I already had it in my possession. So I owed that guy a print, and I almost was not able to get him one. I had to do some sneakery, and I don't necessarily feel bad about it because I had to repay my debt. Poster buddy's a tricky thing. Like I said, you don't want to disappoint somebody, and especially if somebody was nice enough to send you the print that you talked about in advance. But anyways, Bud, what do you think? How many prints is too many prints?
I don't know if there's really a number on that. Like, I understand the complaints everyone has, but same with like Megan, I had multiple PBs throughout the tour. I went to 14 shows, and I had around like 7 poster buddies, I think. Not all for every show, but just scattered throughout. Like beforehand, we agreed blindly to this city for that city. I always tried to make sure I got mine, which I like to have assigned. So I tried to get that if I could. If not, I settled for an unsigned, and then whatever poster buddies I had. And then obviously, if there was more I could get, I would, because I also attained some from this tour that I didn't poster buddy for, but I did just trade extras that I had. I think I'm like 6 short of all of them this tour, and I haven't bought a single one because they've all been trades. But I also haven't really sold outright anything I bought either. For the most part, it's just collecting them. I have sold to people who have like thrown up ISOs and they didn't have any trades, and I'm like, well, not super gouging people, but obviously I made my money back and some. But I don't know. That's part of the game, right?
It definitely is. I don't have any judgments on people that, like I said, are using their own money to buy the prints. I mean, it's your money. You're allowed to do whatever you want. And again, like we've talked about this on previous episodes, this is the game as we see, as it's played right now. You don't have to like it, but this is just how it is. It's kind of up to people in charge whether or not they would like to regulate that in the future. And I guess that's my next question is, how would you guys feel if they started regulating more on how many posters you can get, and if that's even possible?
Well, every show was different, too. Like, there were booths that limited to 2, some limited to 1, and some said take as many as you want. Some at the same show. Like, when we were in New Orleans, the main booth was only allowing 2 per person, but I almost got shut out to nothing because I went upstairs and 5 people bought the whole booth out because they did not limit. And that was in the same building,
I'd really like to talk to whoever makes these decisions, or because it has to be on some level somebody who's with the band, and then on some level the venue they have to come to some type of agreement.
Well, and remember that the merch workers are just,
people.
That's their job. With how crazy the Tool tour had been, the sooner you sell out of posters, the sooner they don't got to fucking deal with them anymore. You know what I mean? So
yeah, exactly.
Who wants to buy 20? That sooner they don't got to ever reach for them ever again.
Well, I heard in Cleveland, somebody told me that the people in the merch booths have a certain level of commission about what they sell. So if their kiosk sells X amount, they get X amount, in commission.
Interesting.
Well, a funny story about Cleveland, because everyone knows where I was in line. I've gotten like probably 15 messages on Facebook about why did I buy 50 posters. I really wish I would have after all the fucking hate that's been spewed in the messages I've gotten.
Because you got the hate anyways.
But you can believe whatever you want.
Yeah, that's unfortunate that you had to go through all that hate for something that you didn't even do. But that's the way.
It's also part of the game.
The way she goes.
It is now.
It's also part of the game. You had the opportunity to get more, you didn't, which I respect. I've seen multiple pictures where it has a person, and it'll be like, this is so-and-so buying 15 posters, and it's not that person in the photo.
Yeah.
I know while we were in Cleveland, someone posted a picture of someone I know, and they were like, this guy's a problem. He bought 20 posters, and I know who that guy is, and I know what he bought, and it was not 20. And he's one of the nicest guys you'd ever fucking talk to, which is
I know who you're talking about.
But he's not super well known, so people don't know him by his face. But I'm like, I know who that is, and I know he's not just on eBay selling them. So
we kind of touched on this in the previous conversation, but how much do you think the band knows about what is going on with the prints and the resale? And they obviously have some knowledge on the drops. I'm just curious on everyone's thoughts of like, how do you think the band feels about all of this?
I'm not really sure how they feel about it, but I'm sure they're aware.
I don't know. I would like to think they do because it happens and it's not like, but anyone that isn't involved in this has no idea. When I say something, they're like, what? It's worth that much? They have no idea. And they are way more important than the people I'm talking to. Also, I doubt Maynard even knows this band still exists at this point.
He's like, I'm in Tool? Wait, what? They just hand me lyrics at the beginning of a tour and I got to remember them. I don't know who I'm playing with anymore.
I feel like if I was in the band, I would totally look that stuff up, but that's probably why I'm not in the band.
I suspect they probably have someone who is in the various Facebook groups and is paying attention to that and looks at eBay, but I don't know.
I was going to say eBay for sure.
Yeah, I just
got to look at eBay.
I don't know how much of that information, goes to the band. And again, I don't really know what they would think about it
or what they could do about it other than like they could raise their own prices, but I mean, they make a killing
on
done
that.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. Look at what happened after the first one or two nights. The posters went up $15.
Well, I think if I'm remembering correctly, the first time I ever bought a Tool band signed poster, I think it was $150, and that was in
I wish
2016, maybe.
I think if there's anybody in the band that knows, I think it would be Adam. He's the one who generally picks all the artists. I think he's the one that would know more than others. I don't think Maynard gives two shits about it.
Yeah.
The other guys maybe a little bit, but for example, the Belmont, right? That was the lowest print run, probably that from any of these last few years. And that print was really, really important to him if you watch that documentary. And so I think he has a hand in this. And he knows.
I agree. I'm pretty sure I saw some type of screenshot of an email where when it related to the Belmont, where the person was explaining that they had a conversation with Adam Jones, and Adam Jones said you shouldn't resell this artist print for anything less than $2,500, and then that's the price they ended up going on.
And Chris, one of the real positive things about these prints and the tours is how many artists, get a new fan base. How many artists has Tool helped their career?
Totally.
You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of people, quote unquote, starving artists that would love to get a break like this, and they've done that for a lot of people.
No, they're definitely handing out money to some of these artists.
Yeah, seriously, like it's made their careers, so I think that's another really positive thing.
I would have to
I totally agree with you 100%. I've found so many more artists that I didn't know before just from Tool from the last few years, and it's awesome.
I understand how unique the experience is to go to a concert and that, but I'm not sure if there's any other band out there that comes close to this.
I don't follow anybody like this.
I'm always down to go to a live show as long as I like the band, but I don't follow anybody the way that I follow Tool.
That's exactly the same with me.
I would have to.
Bunch of Tool junkies.
For real, Tool's the only band I've ever went thousands of miles to see. That's for sure. But I've seen Deftones a bunch all around my area, and I follow another band, but not by choice. My significant other is really into this band, Motion City Soundtrack, and we see them a countless number of times. We're actually going to see them about 5 times in July.
Cool.
But again, even that band, which I enjoy, they don't. It's not like they have a different artist per show or have the same production value on their live show. And again, they may not be playing arenas, but Tool has been doing the type of art and visual stuff on stage, I think, for long before they were in arenas. All right, so I'm going to end it. I'm going to end this real quickly with a what's your grail? Let's go around. And hopefully it's something you don't already have. Sarah, what's your grail?
My number one that I want is Lollapalooza 2009, band signed if possible.
Fair enough. Joe?
I have it. Fortunately, I guess.
Yeah, unfortunately, I got it. I'm sorry.
No, yeah. Auckland is, for me, the best thing ever.
And that's an Alex Gray?
Yeah.
It's the green one, right?
It is, yeah.
Oh, yeah, I love that one. Megan?
I will never let that go.
Megan, grail.
So An Adam doodled Mark Brooks Louisville would be it for me because hometown show and all. There are only two. I don't think I'll ever get it, but
looks like we need to plan a heist.
Just manifest that.
Bud, what's your grail?
I guess I'll piggyback Megan's that I would love to have an Adam Doodle from Detroit because it's hometown. But, I mean, I don't know. I have pretty much everything I want unless I was going to spend over-the-top money on something, which I probably won't do. Like, I would love to have, like a Cyberman or an X-Ray, but I'm not going to pay for those, so...
Fair enough. I am going to refuse to say what my grail is because I think I'm going to ask everybody and never tell my own. It's going to be an ongoing joke. But
is it a signed tuck that's not damaged?
That one hurt. Bud. Thank you, everyone, for coming on. And those that came on twice, thank you as well.
You're welcome. Thank you for having us.
And
It was fun.
And I'm sure
thanks for having us.
Yeah, I'm sure we're going to do this again. I'd like to do something like this when the European tour starts. And again, everybody out there, thank you for listening and spiral out. I think that was a really good episode. We got a lot of different opinions, and I think it's very interesting to get a panel of people together to talk about one subject, so you can get varying opinions, varying experiences. I want to thank Joe Smith, Megan Hager, Sarah Bowles, and Bud Gabbard for all coming on. That was great, and I hope to do that a lot for this show. I want to get the people listening engaged and a part of this. So again, thank you for listening to this episode, and thank you for listening to the first one. And we have more to come. Next episode is gonna be great. It's gonna be a really big episode. Stay tuned. Thank you for listening. Spiral out. You can find us on our website at spiraloutpodcast.podbean.com. Hit us up on Instagram at spiraloutpod and Facebook at Spiral Out Podcast. Find us, like us, follow us. Every little bit helps. Thank you, and keep listening.